Well, I will say one thing is I had an NDE at a very early age, okay, which is a near-death experience. Um, Now, granted, this was back in the early 80s when it was normal to leave children unsupervised. So my parents were good parents, okay. Um, it was during a heat wave, okay, and it was very hot outside. And of course, being around 6 or 7, you don't realize the symptoms of heat stroke coming up. I felt very tired, and then I went to sleep in direct sunlight, and that's when my body started going into shock. Okay. Um, then that's when the NDE started. I remember seeing my light body. People always describe it. I always say it looked like a reversed black and white painting of yourself. So you're all white, and everything around me was black. I was moving up the tunnel, with the light at the end, and I saw it, and I came out and was greeted by what I believe to be an angel. Okay. And I was shown having like a past life regression, like my past life flashed before my eyes. It was sort of like on a TV. Okay. But being so young, it went relatively fast, but also in the same sense, time didn't seem to exist. It seemed to happen instantaneously. Okay. After that, I was brought to a gate. Okay. But there was another angel there. The one that showed me the past life regression was welcoming me, but then there's another one there. I could tell he was upset, and he said, "My job isn't done. I have to go back." And then I woke up back in my body, paramedic over me, and I'm like, that was the life stage experience for me is to what set me off on this path. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. So, were you able to tell your parents what happened eventually?
Yeah, I was scared of it. And I can tell that my mother, it scared her too. There were a couple instances where, because I was having I believe, I forget what the second name for, but I was seeing things before they happened. Okay. So back then, you would call before you showed up at somebody's house, and we had a friend that lived several hours away. And I remember vividly seeing her show up at the front door. And I told this to my mother, and she's like, "No, she's not coming. She hasn't called." A couple hours later, she shows up. Okay. And my mother just looked odd at me. And then, well, we lived in Wisconsin, so it got cold during the winter, and I saw my mother break her ankle on the ice prior to it happening. I told her about it. She's look, just shook it off, and then when it happened, she's like, and I can tell then my mother was getting scared. Okay, yeah. So I sort of shut up about it. Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure you know, because you've probably done extensive research on NDAs, but I just learned this in the last week. Because strangely enough, I've had multiple guests lately within the last couple of months come on and tell their stories about their NDEs. It's very interesting. At any rate, they have said that, or I read this week that people who have or experience an NDE, most of them when they return, they have some sort of psi or psychic ability.
Yes. Yes.
And
I'm very much an empath now because of it. Yeah.
yeah, and scientists or those who are kind of trying to investigate this, because in the Western modality, a lot of scientists are like, this isn't real. This isn't, what are they talking about? Something's wrong. But in this book, they were saying some scientists theorize that, we go around our lives, we're all conscious, whatever consciousness means. And because of our societies, our cultures, our world, we have to narrow down our way of perceiving the world into these tiny little gates of perception so we can navigate the world successfully and we don't go crazy. But when you have an NDE, those gates are blown wide open and you're
Mhm.
exposed to kind of like everything. And excuse me. And when you return, you know, the gates aren't open all the way, but they've been open considerably
Yeah.
larger. And so
Yeah.
you can have these psi experiences where um, for you, for example, you saw things that happened, but
Mhm.
quite honestly, there are also people who are walking around that just have that capacity who haven't had an NDE. They're always really fascinating to talk to, I'm sure, just like it's fascinating
Well,
to
if
talk to you.
there's a lot of people that believe that we all have that ability. It's just been hidden. Yes.
Absolutely. Have you found it challenging to live in a world that kind of in general doesn't accept those capacities, for telepathy or clairvoyance, knowing that you kind of have these abilities? Is it challenging for
Well,
you?
you have to make a decision. Do you want to accept yourself for who you are? Okay, then you're going to have to steer away from those people that aren't accepting of you, plain and simple, and go towards a different path.